Hi guys, James at Rampant Lion Reviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one we are going to stick to Sweden and we're going to return to a brewery that has featured on the channel a good number of times before. I've had some really nice beers from these guys over the last little while, and I would say that this brewery are known mainly for their hazy New England IPAs and also their big fruity juicy sours, and generally speaking this is one of the Swedish breweries that I would highly recommend you keep an eye on over the next little while. They're getting some really good plaudits just now, and it's quite rightly justified based on my previous experiences. But yeah, this beer that we're going to have a look at today is a little bit different from the ones we've had before, so let's crack on with it then. For this review we are going to go to a little town called Strömstad, which is on the kind of northern part of the Swedish west coast, to the north of Gothenburg, Göteborg, and quite close to the Norwegian border. Quite a picturesque little fishing town apparently. And we're going to return to Fermenterarna, or the fermenters as you would call them in English. But this particular beer is called Pineapple Masquerade. It comes in at 6% ABV, and this one is a Gose, obviously with pineapple in it. But yeah, a few months back I had the Raspberry Masquerade, which I thought was really nice, and I've had a few other berry sours from them before. So this is only the fourth or fifth sour beer that I've had from them, and I think in total we've done maybe about 11 or 12 reviews now. So yeah, this is only my fourth or fifth sour beer, but it's also the first more kind of tropical leaning one actually. So that point should make for a really interesting review actually, and I'm very curious to see how this beer turns out. But yeah, this one was released as part of the local Masquerade assortment through Systembolaget here in Sweden for April of 2021. It was released along with two IPAs, and I reviewed one of those for you here on the channel earlier on. It was something with the beast. I forget the name of that one now, but that was a little bit more kind of west coasty leaning, which was quite interesting. But yeah, Pineapple Masquerade, 6% Pineapple Gose from Fermenterarna in Strömstad here in Sweden. So let's crack on with this review then. Very curious to see how it turns out, and hopefully you guys enjoy my take on this one then, my first more tropical leaning sour from this brewery. So yeah, as always with my reviews then, I'll tell you a little bit about the brewery before we have a taste of the beer. If you want to get straight to the tasting, just fast forward. All the usual links are in the video description below. That's the brewery website, the link to my other reviews that I've done from Fermenterarna before, and you will no doubt see more added to that list in the near future. I'll always keep an eye out on what these guys are releasing, but there's all the usual social media down there. If you want to see more reviews, do please consider subscribing to the channel. The whole channel of course has a geography based tagging system, so you can go into the homepage and search for beer based on country, city, state, county, province, prefecture, whatever it is you happen to be interested in. Do check out the playlists of beers from different countries. There is one there for all the Swedish beers that I've reviewed for you. That's constantly being added to, and as always, please do get in touch and let me know some of the other beers and breweries that you guys would like to see me review. It's always great to hear from you guys that are watching the videos, and the support that you show the channel is hugely appreciated. So anyway, on to my brewery notes then to tell you a little bit about Fermenterarna. So Fermenterarna, or the Fermenters, was founded by Niklas Aronsson and Anna Claesson, who founded the company together back in 2018. So they're still quite new when it comes to the Swedish beer scene. But this brewery, as I mentioned earlier, can be found in Strömstad in Västra Götaland, very close to the Norwegian border and to the north of Gothenburg, Göteborg. And apparently their journey with beer, or Niklas's journey with beer, began one day when he was in a bar and he ordered a beer without really knowing what it was, and this turned out to be the Tropic Thunder from Dugges Brewery, which is the kind of cult classic Swedish sour beer, if you like, brewed in collaboration with Stillwater over in the States. So I would recommend you try that one if you chance. But this one really just opened Niklas's mind to what beer could actually be. Anna, on the other hand, has a long history with things that ferment. She's been interested in it for ages. But she also runs a restaurant which is called Koster's Trädgårdar, and she's fermented a whole host of different things in the past. Sauerkraut, sourdough bread, you name it, she's fermented it. So it was kind of a natural step for her to move into beer. But the brewery started out with a small 200-litre brew kit and tanks, and then in late 2018 they took a break to expand the company after their beers had been received very well at different festivals. But they now boast a new facility with two 500-litre brew kits and a total tank capacity of around 17,000 litres. But they've been aiming to brew around 50,000 litres over the course of 2019, which I understand they did manage to do, but they have the equipment to brew around 250,000 litres of beer per year, and I understand that they are just kind of gradually scaling up, if you like. But according to Untappd, these guys have produced around 110 different kinds of beer as of May 2021. And like I said, the brewery are probably best known for their big, hazy New England IPAs and also these kind of fruity, juicy sours. So yeah, if you're into those styles, as I say, definitely check these guys out. And you know, kind of generally speaking, this is one of my favourite Swedish breweries that I've gotten into over the last little while. So hopefully at some stage I can get up to Strömstad, have a little look around, because as I say, it's supposed to be a very picturesque little fishing town, and it would be quite cool to film a Meet the Brewery interview with Anna and Nicholas. So hopefully we can do that at some stage soon. I think that would be really fun to do. But yeah, that's all I can really tell you about Fermenterarna for the moment. If you want to learn more about these guys, you can check out the brewery website. You can follow them on Facebook and Instagram to keep up to date with all the latest goings on. And you can, of course, check out the Rate Beer, Untappd and Beer Advocate pages to learn more about all the different beers that we've done. I get most of the information on these breweries, incidentally, from beernews.se. So you know, you can go on there as well and type in Fermenterarna, and then all of the articles on these guys will pop up, and you'll get details of different, you know, little beer festivals and things like that they've taken part in. But yeah, that's it for your history section of the video. Let's crack on then and have a little look at this beer itself. So as you can see, this one is another one of their 440ml cans that we get. The artwork on this is quite similar to the Raspberry Masquerade, incidentally, always the kind of human outline. With the fruit face, basically. Yeah, this beer cost me, I believe, 50 Swedish crowns, so about €5, £4.50-ish sterling, and then I guess maybe somewhere in the region of $6 if you like. So these kind of sour beers are a wee bit more pricey, but they are usually very nice. So there you can see on the side of the can, this is the sort of data side, and there is the Fermenterarna symbol as well, actually, the sort of fermenting bottle, which I think is pretty cool. I just noticed there as well, it's got the little airlock on the top of it. I've never noticed that before, so that is pretty cool. But yeah, 440ml this one, as I said, a 6% fruited Gose. Remember, Goses are a German style originally. They usually add a little bit of salt into them and things too, you know, and that's what distinguishes them really from the Berliner Weisses. The Gose, of course, they used to put them in cellars, and they actually let them ferment in individual bottles, and then you got the foam coming up out the bottle, and you just had all of these bottles kind of sitting on the cellar floor, and the foam kind of going on top of it. So it was really cool, actually, how they used to do these. But yeah, it also says on here, Strömstad's Suraste Bryggeri, so Strömstad's sourest brewery. So there must be another brewery in Strömstad then, so I'll need to have a little look and see what that is at some stage. But yeah, lovely artwork on this one, as you always get. Gold top on the can, incidentally, too. So let's get this guy out, and we'll get on with the tasting then. Curious to see what this one has in store for us. Next month, of course, we are going to review another one of their New England IPAs, and then that'll be my last review from them for a wee while over the summer. So yeah, and you'll find out why later. But yeah, this certainly looks nice. Still got a wee bit of it left in the can, but we'll stick that in later on, and it's lined up, so my OCD is happy. There we go. So before the head disappears, you can see this beer has a nice 2/3 finger of a frothy, I would say perfect white head. I'm sure that'll fade away a little bit later on, though, although it might stick around for a wee while, because this beer, the Goses, of course, are you know, fairly heavy in wheat. They do have a good wheaty presence to them, but you can also already see that it is starting to recede, so just ignore what I said there. But yeah, perfect white head on this one, and it's going to leave just a nice kind of foamy ring around the edge of the glass there. But yeah, if we shine the light through this beer, it looks absolutely lovely. You can see that the colour of this one is a lovely kind of rich bright yellow. Obviously, to me it looks a little bit like a kind of mango juice, but we know it's pineapple that's in this one, so maybe pineapple juice can be a little bit brighter than I've given it credit for in past times. But yeah, it certainly looks very, very nice. This one, a lovely kind of bright yellow colour. One or two big bubbles sticking towards the side of the glass, a few little ones going up towards the bottom of the head there, and you can see the head does have a good degree of haze to it. Remember, when we're talking about the colour of beers, they depend on a couple of different things. One, the type of malts that you use. Two, the length of your wort boil. The longer you boil the wort, the more the sugars caramelise. Thus you get a darker colour of beer, and adjuncts, of course, are also going to play a role when it comes to these types of sour beers. So yeah, kind of obviously you're going to get a lovely bright yellow colour out of this one. But yeah, it certainly looks very, very nice, this one, and nothing particularly surprising about this beer when you consider what style it is when we think about its appearance. So, lovely stuff. So let's take a closer look at the aroma then and just see how we got on with this one. As I've told you in previous reviews, when it comes to these big fruity juicy Berliner Weisses and Goses and things like that, I always think these beers are quite straight shooting in terms of their aroma and their flavour profiles, but if they're done well, they're just beautiful beers. They are very beautiful beers. But yeah, let's take a look at this one and see how we get on. Oh yeah, this is nice. I'll say that straight away. The other thing I'll say about this one as well, it's a bit more obvious with this one compared to the Raspberry Masquerade that it's a Gose. You can smell the saltiness in this beer a little bit more than what I remember with the Raspberry Masquerade. So that's maybe something I need to think about going forward. But this beer's got a lot of what you would expect from one of these big fruity juicy sours. So you can smell the sort of bready backbone of this beer straight away with this one. Goes all the way. It's a lovely smelling beer. It gets a thumbs up from me. But yeah, straight away it's what you'd expect. So you can smell that lovely, smooth, white bready backbone to this one. Absolutely. On top of that, you can smell a little bit of the kind of oaty smoothness in there as well. And this beer, it really has that kind of yogurty, petit filou type vibe to it. I always find you get a little bit more of that, I think, in the berry ones normally, because these yogurts usually tend to be more berry flavour than pineapple. Pineapple yogurt isn't all that common, not that I've seen anyway. But yeah, this one, this beer really smells a little bit more kind of yogurty and oaty compared to the Raspberry Masquerade, and as I say, you get a good little bit of the salt out of it too. But other than that, the only other thing you can maybe say about the malt base in this one is that it's there is a wee tiny touch of like a very slight Werther's Original butter candy type thing, but really not a lot there. Soft white bready note, like I say, a nice thick kind of oaty quality. You've got those yogurty elements in there as well. This one doesn't really have a kind of vanilla component to it. Doesn't really give you any of that kind of more smooth, sweet vanilla, but then there's a wee touch of there is a wee touch of how would we say, like there is, as I say, just a little touch of a more kind of Werther's Original butter candy type thing out of this one. So yeah, that is your malt base. It's got that bready, oaty, yogurty, very light kind of butter candy type thing out of it, and that's what I've had from a number of other breweries who do these more kind of tropical sours. If you're into these sour beers in Sweden, you're talking like Morgondagens, Örebro have some as well. Fermenterarna, obviously, Brewski do a few of these things. Who's the other one in Gothenburg? That's going to annoy me now. So you've got Morgondagens, you've got Wizard, Duck Pond, that's the other one I'm thinking of. Yeah, all of these breweries are doing some really nice beers like this. But yeah, malty side of this beer is pretty much what you'd expect. In terms of hoppiness and things, I don't think this beer has hops in it. Let's just check. It smells a bit too smooth. Nah, it just says malted barley and wheat in this one. I'm surprised that this doesn't have oats, because you can really smell a little bit of a sort of oaty quality out of this one, which is quite interesting. So maybe this one is going to be a little bit more of a sort of traditional Gose in that sense. It tends to be the kind of newer breweries, if you like, that will put the oaty, the oats in these beers. But let me just line that up for you. But yeah, this beer, I could have sworn this had a bit of oats in it, because usually it's oats that give you that wee yogurty impression. But yeah, maybe it's just something else. It could well be the yeast, of course. A lot of people underestimate the contribution of yeast to these beers. But yeah, this one doesn't have hops in it. I always find with these beers, though, you do get a little bit of placebo with them. You sometimes pick up a little bit of earthiness and floral qualities, but for me, this one just has a little touch of a kind of grassy note to it. So yeah, I like how that comes out. It just gives you that little bit of grassiness. The fruity note to the beer is kind of pretty much what you'd expect. As always with these sour beers, though, there are a few complexities. You've got a big kind of nice juicy pineapple to it, though, but a wee bit of apricot, maybe a wee bit of a soft papaya in there as well. Just, a few typical fruity undertones. So yeah, I certainly like how this one goes about its business. It gives you everything that you would kind of expect from a pineapple Gose. As I say, very straight shooting beers normally, both in terms of flavour and aroma, but if they're done well, you are certainly in for a treat with these ones. But yeah, let's crack on with this beer and see how we go. So take a bit of time to ponder over the aroma, as I always say, but we're going to try this one now. This is the Pineapple Masquerade, a 6% Pineapple Gose from Fermenterarna in Strömstad, close to the Norwegian border on the northern part of the Swedish west coast. Let's get stuck in. Slange, skål, cheers. Oh yeah, that's very, very nice once again. Very easy to drink. Yeah. That's one of the things as well I should say about it. As I say, I thought there was a bit of oat in this, but the fact that it's just wheat, I think, gives it an element of drinkability. And I'm trying to remember if there was oats in the raspberry one, but I'm guessing, you know, if they're calling it Masquerade, that might sort of infer that it's it might suggest that it's like the same base beer, just with a different fruit. So I might be wrong on that, but I really thought from the aroma of this one there was a bit of oat in it, because the oats usually give you more of that kind of yogurty vibe. But yeah, this is a really nice solid sour beer once again, and you know, this is what I've come to expect of Fermenterarna, so big thumbs up to them. Really like this. When you first take it in, it does have a wee bit of a kind of puckering quality to it, and the thing is, on the aftertaste, it gives you a bit of the saltiness, which is your kind of signature of the Gose, if you like. That's your distinguishing characteristic. But yeah, it certainly has my approval on that side of things. So thumbs up to Fermenterarna for this one. But yeah, I do like how it goes about its business. So yeah, let's try and break this one down for you a little bit more then. Very summery beer, this one actually. Yeah, so straight away across the middle of your palate, you've got a lovely smooth white bready kind of quality to this, which is what you'd expect. In the middle third of your palate and the back third of your palate, you can feel that nice smooth wheaty element to the beer. In the middle third of your palate, though, you do get a wee bit more, you know, it really does feel like there's just a wee tiny touch of oatiness in it. It's like in the middle third of your palate, you've got like a little circle in the middle of your palate. So at the very front and the very back of that middle third of your palate, you get a wee bit of a kind of bread crusty type note to it. But then in the middle of that, it feels like you've got a slightly smoother, oaty kind of thing. And this is where you start to get the impression of a slightly yogurty vibe, particularly on the front half of that middle third of your palate. But in the very dead centre of your tongue, you get a little bit more of that kind of butter candy type vibe to it as well. So yeah. So yeah, that the butter candy type thing, that little sort of butter candy sugary kind of note, as I say, is just in the very centre of the palate there, and I think it works out just I think it just works out really, really nicely. Yeah, it's this beer, it's very straight shooting in a lot of ways, but I really like it. And you'll also find that on the front half of that middle third of your palate, that's where you start to get the kind of saltiness coming out of the beer the further you go into the aftertaste. It's that little bit of Gose saltiness there, and it works. So this one for me, it doesn't quite seem, it seems a little bit smoother and maybe not quite as creamy as the berry sours did, but like I said, I could have sworn that the other one had a little bit of oat in it. I could be wrong, as I say, but yeah, this one compared to the others, it does feel a little bit lighter and a little bit more sort of bready leaning than the other one, which was really oaty and almost yogurty in a way. But it gets a thumbs up from me. I certainly like how this goes together. Absolutely. So yeah, that's the middle third of your palate. There's not too much more to report from that. As I say, these beers are quite straightforward in their profiles. Border region between middle third and back third of your palate. As you move further up, you get a little bit of more doughy bready kind of thing, a wee bit of a bread crust. And as I say, on the back third of your palate, there's a nice sort of smooth, white bready kind of element there as well. But sitting on top of that, you get a little bit more of a kind of airy, yeasty type quality to the beer. So yeah, I can certainly I can certainly enjoy how that goes about its business too. So at the back third, on the back third of your palate, you can feel there's a nice sort of, it feels a little bit taller, the flavour kind of feels a little bit like this, but as you move further forward, it just condenses down a wee bit, so you can feel this beer getting a little bit less thick as you move further forward. Then in the middle third of your palate, it goes down quite a wee bit, and that middle third of your palate just feels a wee touch more kind of condensed in a sense. So yeah, I certainly like how that that plays together in this beer. So thumbs up once again to Fermenterarna for this one. The malty side of this beer is very nicely executed, and it shows all the characteristics you'd expect of a Gose. Absolutely. But yeah, on the sides of your palate then, back corners of the palate, you've got a nice little touch of, there is a wee tiny little bit of earthiness out of this one. As you move further forward, it gets a wee bit more herbal, and then you don't really get a floral note as you move further forward on the sides of the palate there. And remember, these kind of notes are a little bit more sort of placebo-like because the beer doesn't have hops in them. I would like to see them release one with hops in it, just to see what it would do, because what they normally do with these beers is add older hops into them, or very low alpha acid hops, such as the Hallertaus, the Tittnangers, the Sats, the Styrian Goldings, the more noble type hops. That's what they tend to do with these beers. But around the front curve of the palate, there's definitely a wee element of grassiness in there. But yeah, on the front third of your palate, you've got a nice kind of, you've got a slightly little bigger bready build up to this one, so you can kind of feel that there. But then the base of that, kind of front third of your tongue is a smooth white bready element again. So I can appreciate how that goes about its business too. So that's the backbone of your front third of the beer. And usually when you've got hops added into the beer, this one doesn't have hops, you'll get a little bit of that more oily, juicy, fruity bubble where those fruity esters roll their way out of the beer. But when you add fruit into the beer as an adjunct, some of the fruitiness always comes out around the edge of the palate, and you can definitely feel that here. You can feel some of the juicy pineapple-y elements just going around the front sides of the tongue, but you're also getting some of it on that, straight up on the front third of your tongue too. So I really like that about this beer for sure. It is nice how it goes about its business in that regard, absolutely. But yeah, as I say, the front third of your palate, that's where the sharpness of the beer comes in, just behind the very front tip of the tongue, and you do get a wee bit of a grassy, the front very tip of your tongue is a little bit more grassy and zesty in a sense, but yeah, wee bit of a sharper, you've got a wee touch of a kind of sharper zestiness to it, like I say. And then, as you move further back on that front third of your palate, you'll get a few apricot-y notes, a wee bit of a kind of papaya type element in there as well. These are the kind of subtleties you'll get from a more tropical sour like this, but it's pineapple all the way. Sitting on top of those little subtleties is a more kind of wet pineapple-y flavour, and that goes around the front sides of your palate too. But further into the aftertaste, it's the smooth wheat, it's a bit of the saltiness, it's the juicy pineapple, and yeah, I like how all of that goes together in this one. So yeah, I like how this beer pieces together. Actually, it's very nicely done, but I wouldn't expect anything less from Fermenterarna, to be honest. Very straight shooting beer this, but well crafted, and you can't ask for much more from a sour like this beer, of course. So yeah, to round off this review then with the mouthfeel, it's the kind of, as we say, it's the lighter, it's at the lighter end of the spectrum. I mean, it's kind of bottom end and mid-bodied. I think, yeah, bottom end and mid-bodied. The carbonation is very smooth. It does have a nice little bit of a clean mouthfeel to it, but at the same time, because it's a Gose sort of wheat-based beer, it feels a little bit smooth and a little bit kind of thick and slightly raw in the malt base, which is nice. That's what you want. You get a wee bit of saltiness, as I say, on the front half of that middle third of your tongue. which I certainly like. Technically speaking, this beer will be 0 IBUs, but you know, I think in reality it's going to be about 5 IBUs or something. There will be a wee touch of bitterness to this beer, something like that, but lovely juicy fruitiness to it, a wee touch of saltiness, like I said, and the malt base just gives you a wee vibe of you know, kind of yogurty type qualities, like petit filou or something. So yeah, a really very, very nice beer once again from Fermenterarna. I'm curious to see how you know, if they continue this Masquerade one and put a few different fruits and things like that in it. A cloudberry Masquerade could be a really interesting one, actually. I'd love to see them do something like that, but they have got quite a few different sours coming out over the next wee while, so I'll need to see about reviewing a few of those, but we'll figure that out as we go. I say we're getting close to the summer and I've got quite a few plans over the summer, so not as many Swedish reviews coming up over June and July, I should say, but yeah, it's a lovely beer, this one, and nice to try another sour and a more tropical leaning sour from Fermenterarna as well. So I think we can round off the review there then. Once again, thank you for watching my beer reviews. Another solid beer from these guys, but let me know your own thoughts on it in the comment section below. Let me know what your favourite beers are from Fermenterarna. I will review an IPA from these guys. This from the May release, but as I say, you won't probably see more reviews from these guys until, like, you know, August or September or something beyond that. But yeah, thanks again for watching my reviews. Let me know your own thoughts in the comment section below. Check out my other Fermenterarna reviews, and as I say, this is a brewery that you should check out if you like New England IPAs and big fruity juicy sours and things like that. But yeah, thank you again for watching. Check out my social media, check out Fermenterarna. This one was the Pineapple Masquerade, a 6% Gose from Fermenterarna, the fermenters in Strömstad, close to the Norwegian border on the northern part of the Swedish west coast. Slange, skull, cheers, and see you on the next one.